Yeah, now I want to dive in more to your teaching. So, like we said, you started teaching around 19, 20 years old.
Yeah.
Pretty early. Was it always like after you then took all the drumming lessons? What was that teaching always in your focus? Like, I want to teach this, or did it
No,
evolve?
it actually came from a different standpoint. Let's say, at that time where I was starting to teach, it was like I was ready to do anything that would be connected with music to make a living by playing drums.
Okay, anything for the drums.
Anything, and I mean, friends of mine would say, "Oh no, I would never look into teaching because that's just not my thing. I would rather, I don't know, work at a store or deliver pizza or I don't know anything else." And I would say, "No, I would of course play in any sort of commercial band, and I would of course teach. I would anything that would be connected with playing the drums and playing the drums for a living."
Yes.
Because I would still be connected with the instrument, no matter if I would really like the music or the band or whatever. There was some sort of experience that you would make out of anything
Yeah.
playing the drums. Okay, and teaching was just one of these aspects. I was given the opportunity to make money by playing the drums. Do I want that? Yes,
of
big
course.
time.
Yeah.
I'm into it. Tell me, what is it I have? What is it that I have to do?
Yeah.
And boom, so I was into teaching,
Yeah. Okay.
and it felt good, and I kind of got stuck with it.
And do you remember, because we're gonna go back to the self-doubt
Yeah.
for a little bit, but do you remember your first student, or do you remember that first lesson?
You mean like the very first one?
Yeah, like is there one that stands out where you were like maybe really nervous, or it took a totally different turn, like a lesson that stands out?
Interesting. Well, I remember, I mean, not concrete lessons, but I know that there were lessons when I had to teach like a group of 3 or 4 kids that were, say, I don't know, 10, 11, 12, and they were completely going crazy.
Ay.
And,
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
big time. So it wasn't really about teaching drums. It was more or less like
Holding it together.
like you're thrown into a circus and you're in front of 4 lions pretty much,
Yeah.
and they are just playing games with you. So,
Yes.
so it was not really about teaching. It was more or less like getting over those 45 minutes to and doing something kind of reasonable with them. But I remember lessons that were really like a test for your patience and for your say perspective. Boy, is teaching something that you want to continue doing? If that's something you need to do,
Yeah.
let me think twice.
Okay.
So yeah,
Yeah.
not easy. And I have a very high respect for all the teachers who have situations like that
Kindergarten
and
teachers.
who are going through that constantly, because that takes a lot of patience, a lot of preparation, and a lot of natural ability to get along with these situations. I'm pretty sure it's something that you can not really learn and study. It's something that has been given to you from wherever or not.
Okay. Yeah. But then you decided, okay, I can do this. But now back to the self-doubt, because with Seamus at the Drumeo Gario
Seamus,
interview, which was really interesting, you said that drums was always for you, but you didn't know if you were good enough to make a living. And then I was like on the edge of my seat, but then he didn't really go into what did you do to overcome that, or how did you handle this? Like how?
I mean, frankly speaking, there wasn't a real strategy to overcome that. It was just it pretty much ended up with always working as hard as possible on your craft and always trying to be one step ahead of whatever, a step ahead from your best student, a step ahead from other members in the band, a step ahead from whatever you could think of. I mean, just trying to say you're playing the game to win, and not just playing the game because you like playing the game. It was at that point playing the game because you want to win,
Okay.
and not because of the fact that you have a hard time losing. I can lose a game, no problem with that. But it's but when it comes to do something that you consider as something, this is my life. This is what I do for a living. This is what makes up my personality. This is like the inner core of myself, and you don't want to lose.
No, you
Right.
always want to aim for that.
You want to be on top of the game, and you want to be at a position where you say, okay, there may be people who are better, faster. I don't know, in a certain, to a certain degree, but as long as I know I did everything to be the best I can, I'm in peace with myself.
Yeah. Yeah. I wanted to talk to you about listening. And first, I just want to throw it at you, like the word listening, without too much of a context. The only thing I say, I heard Dave Weckel in an interview saying that the sonic aspect is getting lost if you focus too much on the visuals, which I thought was pretty interesting. And now I just want to throw that at you. See what you have to say.
Yeah. Just recently, I was. I mean, the first idea that just came to my mind as you were asking that question. Just recently, I saw something on Instagram, a post with somebody who was twirling sticks and making all sorts of funny things, and he, I don't even know if it was he or she. It was just the hand and the stick, and I just watched it very briefly, and it was just great. And I was, for a second, I thought I leave a comment saying, "Boy, just sounds great," because there was nothing that you could really hear. It was just the hand and the stick, whatever.
Yeah.
And it reminded me of something that I think Buddy Rich once said when he was asked about stick tricks, and he said something like, "Well, they just don't record too well in the studio." And I mean, the visuals are important, and I think we all have to realize that in this world today, it's just part of what we are doing. And with the drums being a very visual instrument, there's no way to totally lose that aspect. But I'm completely with Dave when he says, first and foremost, it's about how does all that sound like, and what are the sonic aesthetics of that performance that is in front of you. And I would totally agree. Yes, this is lost at times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And do you think like back in the day, maybe like now we have a lot of nice books. You contributed to that, like a lot of cool methods. You can read everything. You can check your exercises. And what I saw from back in the day, people were listening just to things, and then they were translating that to their instrument. So they were listening more. Do you think that is lost, or?
I wouldn't say it's lost. I would say the perception of the people has shifted a bit more to the visual side of things as opposed to the acoustic side of things.
Yes.
And I wish there was a better balance between those two, because I mean, just watching something that looks cool and hip, fancy. You mentioned the words. I mean, that's one side of the coin, but ultimately it's about, okay, how does it sound?
Yeah. Yeah.
What is left if I just close my eyes and I'm still under the impression of that performance? What is left if I just close my eyes?
Yeah, yeah, true. Because like, I mean, in a time like this with all the social media, you're
Yes.
impressed. You know,
Yeah,
it
and
works
and
that way.
and I think it connects in a different way with our brains.
Yeah.
And I mean, of course, if you think back, how did something look like? That is some part of the memories that we carry around with us. But if we think back, okay, how did a certain piece of music sound like, and how did that
Feel.
attract your attention
Yeah.
the very first time when you were listening to the Beatles or to Queen or to Glenn Miller or to Harry Belafonte or to whatever artist? I mean, that is something that stands out in a much more massive way as just opposed to, okay, the cover of the record looked like this. I mean,
Yeah.
of course you have that picture still in front of you, but the music and the sound is much more with my memory as just that visual memory to a certain degree. And I might be different because I come from a different background. It might be a totally different game if you were talking to some 15-year-old kid today.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe.
Or just person to person,
Yeah.
but yeah,
Yeah.
it's true. On to playing. And in particular to playing a solo. What does it mean for to you to play solo? And I first, because I forgot my intro, I was totally blown away because at the open-minded drum camp in Poland, at the end you did a performance and you did a 20-minute solo, and everybody was like, we were like, what is happening? And yeah, I just wanted to ask you about this process. Like, what does it mean to you to do a solo?
I mean, there's many answers to that question. I mean, one important part would be to look at a solo as if it is a piece of music. You're pretty much looking at a piece of music, which basically consists of the same ingredients as a song also does. Like you have an intro, you have a verse, you have a chorus, you have a solo inside the piece, you have some different parts maybe still. I mean, that's completely up to you with how many parts of that song you come up with and how you arrange them. But one very important aspect to me when looking at a solo is really to give it a certain form, and that form can totally be a product of improvisation. It can be an intuitive process in which you come up with creating a form and the parts on the spot. I mean, improvising really is some form of instant composing. It makes that difference between just noodling around and playing anything you can, or hitting anything you can reach, or making choices and then have certain things pop up again at a later point, and the audience goes, oh, we heard that before, but before it was like different, and oh no, that I heard that before, that arrangement, that sounds familiar. I heard
remember
that.
that from your solo. Yeah, yeah.
And quite some people are afraid of repeating themselves. So to a good degree, repeating yourself when you play a solo is something super important if you want to create that red line that goes through the piece that you're composing then.
And that the listener stays with you, because if
Yeah.
you're just
If
hitting
you're
everything,
if you're just constantly trying to reinvent the wheel in every other moment, you're just losing that connection to the people who are listening to you, and it's also much more difficult for you as the player to give that whole musical expression a certain shape, let's say.
Interesting. But do you ever feel like you totally black out, and or did you have times like where you really didn't know where it went and you didn't find back, or
Especially in my beginning attempts to perform solos live, I was under that impression. I mean, especially right in the moment before you were supposed to start.
yes,
But you know, it all kind of dissolves once you realize that when you don't have an idea what to do next, then don't do anything. Just don't play. If you don't know what to play, then don't play.
yeah,
It's going to be much more exciting, and
grab the momentum. Yeah,
yeah, and immediately you're going to catch the attention of the audience if they realize, boy, he's not playing. What
What is he
next?
doing?
What's happening? And because once you start just playing things because you're under the impression, oh, I just have to keep playing just something, and you're losing yourself.
Yeah.
You're also losing that red line and the form, and you're not relaxing anymore, and it's very difficult to then come up with some sort of say some real expression of what you feel in the moment,
Yes.
and transporting that through your instrument.
Very interesting. Nice.